Well, Celtics fall 130-111 to the Washington Wizards, a 19-point loss in D.C. It's actually the third worst loss in terms of margin of defeats of the season. Giles, Chris Forsberg here on Celtics Postgame Live. And not the effort you were looking for, especially considering the way they were playing coming into this game, having won 3 straight in dominant fashion.
Remember the other night when Malcolm Brogdon said the Celtics really wanted the 1 seed? Didn't really play like it. So, I've run out of ways to describe the roller coaster ride that is the 2022-23 Boston Celtics. I'll start with a positive, Giles. You will not have to play the Orlando Magic. You probably won't have to play the Washington Wizards. And so maybe there's a chance for this team in the playoffs, and yet it continues to be maddening when you know there's so much talent and potential inside of this team, and yet on a night like this, they can't muster it up. And now Thursday's game has all the air taken out of it, and you're stumbling your way towards a 2 seed. And if you love rest, well, you're going to love the last 12 games of the season.
Okay.
12 days.
12 days, yeah. 6 games remaining on the schedule. And you go back to the defensive effort we saw from the Celtics here in the first half, and even in the third.
I wouldn't call it a defensive effort, Giles.
Well, it could have been lack thereof, but it wasn't what we had been seeing the last few games.
So, yeah, and it's kind of flabbergasting because they had been so good defensively, and I really thought that they kind of tapped back into that side of the ball. There was no pressure on the perimeter, no stopping the ball. Al looked slow around the basket. I mean, Rob wasn't grabbing rebounds early. They went weird rotation, went double big after they scored 14 points in 4 minutes, and it felt like it got really clunky for a little bit. I should say credit the Wizards. They made a bunch of baskets. I'm not sure the Celtics made it very difficult on them. And so you just kind of get the feeling that the Celtics thought they could show up, do their little DC tour, and then head off to Milwaukee for a showdown. But it's not that easy, and time again this season, we've learned that when the Celtics don't bring the effort, this is what happens.
Yeah, in the third quarter, too. I mean, you're down 13 at halftime. You thought, okay, you're down 13 at the break. You got to come out with a response, and the response was all from Washington. It's, anytime the Celtics got a bucket, it was just like Washington got 2 more. It was, one step forward, 2 steps back in that third quarter as Wizards outscored them by 8. I mean, they gave up 35 points in the third quarter, and it was like at that point in the game when you're watching Washington really switch on screens, like really man up defensively, and you weren't seeing that on the other end from Boston.
I mean, just bad nights for everybody. Like Derek White had a rare off night, and Marcus was taking bad shots, and I don't know. You needed someone to be on, and it felt like maybe Tatum was in the first few minutes, but no one ever matched that level from the final 44.
All right, Celtics came into this night 2 games back of Milwaukee, hoping to be 1.5 back. Instead, they're now 2.5 back of the Bucks. Of course, the Bucks can make that 3 if they can beat the Pacers tomorrow night before those 2 teams meet on Thursday in Milwaukee. All right, we've got a poll question for you, and unfortunately tonight it's not about the Tommy Award. We're actually asking you at home how you feel about the 1 seed at this point. Is this it for the Celtics in terms of the 1 seed?
What is the option?
Well, it's either yes or no, Chris. Is the Celtics' quest for the 1 seed over after this loss to the Wizards? So you can go ahead and scan the QR code on the screen there.
If anyone votes no, I'm calling shenanigans. Can you give me a pathway to the number 1 seed right now?
The Bucks, just
the Bucks,
really.
The team plane doesn't get off the ground the rest of the season. Like, let's face it. This is the 2 seed for the Boston Celtics. I feel pretty confident declaring that. You can run back this tape if I'm wrong. But even if they were to go into Milwaukee and win, let's say the Bucks lose tomorrow night. It's still a 2 game that you still have to make up another game over the course of the end of the season. And the Celtics have to play 2 more back-to-backs, I believe it is, over their own. And so I just don't see the roadmap to the 1 seed. And so I think right now, my attention starts turning to the 7-8 matchup. There's 5 teams in the mix for that, headlined by teams like Miami and Atlanta, maybe Brooklyn if they slide out. And so that's what you're looking at. This is going to be what is likely your first-round opponent, and to me, that is more interesting than anything that will occur on the basketball court over the next 12 days.
The pathway is that the Celtics have 6 games remaining, and if they beat Milwaukee on Thursday, they win the tiebreaker. So that's the big part of the path there, is that they would need to tie Milwaukee for really the best record in the Eastern Conference because you at least have that tiebreaker. But you are asking the Celtics to basically win out and Milwaukee to you almost need them to decide that they're going to rest guys down the stretch of the season. Unless they somehow stub their toe. And let's be fair.
I admire your
as bad as this was tonight, Any team in the NBA is capable of going out there, unfortunately, and doing this.
I've got the Celtics map to the 1 seed. Don't lose to Orlando. Don't lose to Houston. Make buckets when it matters. Play defense. I'm just saying. It's kind of frustrating.
Well, I can see Chris Forsberg's definitely a yes. The 1 seed is kind of out at this point.
28%.
You know what? Good for you, that 28%. See, those are optimistic people there. And we need a little bit of that coming off that game. Scal and Eddie are going to join us next. Again, 130 to 111, your final score. Celtics fall to 52-24 on the season. And the Wizards keep their play-in hopes alive.
Good for them.
Of the year. Okay, we'll take a quick break. Scal and Eddie will join us right after this.